Hi, welcome to Waiter Nation. This is a live vodcast. I hope it's interactive, so I hope you join in with comments. You can also join in by clicking the link in the description. It's fun when a lot of people from around the country join us and they talk about their struggles or their successes during this time. Our industry is in a bad way, and some people say misery likes company, but I think it's comforting to know that we're all going through this together and to hear different ideas and different experience. It makes us feel like we're not going through it alone. So today I'm joined with Adam Collin. Adam's a good friend. He was my boss for a little while. His whole family's in the industry. He's in the industry. We're going to have a chat, and I hope you join. We have to share right now, so if we look away from the camera, it's nothing personal. We just want to share it, get out to as many people as possible. What's going on, Adam?
Nothing much. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I worked with Michael over in Ocean. That was the first time I actually met you, but I knew who you were just because, we worked in the same city together for so
Small
long.
city.
But, I've actually reached hospitality management, but still in it, I still bartend down in Stone Harbor a couple people.
You still bartend?
You still bartend? Oh yeah, I'll never leave this industry. So yeah, I'll always bartend or be a part of it.
You're so I always see I worked with your wife for a little bit. She's in the industry. You've been in the industry forever. And I always see Mike, Boris, and Mary Ellen, and I always see it attached like on Facebook. I know Mike like 30 years ago. He was like a gourmet captain doing all the flambe stuff back in the early days of the Atlantic City. Then he was my manager for a little bit. I haven't seen him in a while, but how are you guys all related?
So Mary Ellen Boris was Mary Ellen Colbert, which is my wife's mother. So Mary Ellen's my mother-in-law. Mike Boris is her husband. So Mike basically raised Laura since she was I don't know, 2 or 3, or maybe a little bit older. So Mike's basically my father-in-law, but he's like my stepfather-in-law. But
yeah,
no, he's my father-in-law. And then we're very close with Laura's father, too, Bob. So you might know Bob worked at Harris too. We work together.
Who's Bob?
He was a dealer there for a couple of years.
Probably know his face. I just think that it's cool that it's a small.
Saw him, yeah, you probably saw him. You probably know my father too.
I just think that it's it's a big city, but it's a small town that everybody knows each other. And when I was working with your wife, just casually, talking,
right.
I think back now, like 25 years ago or something like that, when Mary Ellen was walking around with a baby, it was your wife. It makes me feel a little old, but it makes it all come together. So it's pretty cool. What's been going on? You're in the industry, but you do, are you in like a kind of waste disposal? I didn't know how to explain it the other day when I was talking to you because we only talked briefly.
I did that for about 2 years. I just left it. I'm in medical now. I'm in medical sales, but I was doing waste and recycling. Mm-hmm. And then a part of what we did there, and I can still speak on it because I'm still very close to everybody there. We use what's called digesters. It's machine that basically it's an avenue. Instead of composting, you take all of your food waste and you put it into this machine, and it uses enzymes, and it breaks it down into gray water, which basically just goes into your water supply system. And everything that's happening at the water plant is actually happening in this digester. And it takes all your food waste, produce, your scraps from your cuts of meat and everything like that, and it just lowers your waste consumption, and it frees up landfills and things like that. So it's really cool. It's a company called BioHigh-Tech.
BioHigh-Tech. So it's a clean way to get rid of all the waste in a restaurant.
Yeah, it's clean. It's better than composting, because if any restaurant owners or anybody out there who compost, how dirty that can be, and you're sitting out there with those plastic containers for a week, 2 weeks, just food sitting in it, and there's rodent outside of it. This is in your kitchen. Put it in there, enzymes. It's like a mechanical stomach, and going through and you have to constantly feed it. You can't just throw it all there at once. You have to feed it like you would feed your stomach. And it just breaks it all down, turns it into a gray water, and out it goes.
I'm posting this. Are restaurants, is it more expensive for restaurants, or are they perfectly willing? Are they, when they hear about it, are they, this is great?
It's huge in New York, because that's where they started.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is the kitchen's big enough. It's about the size of like a little bit bigger than a dishwasher, honestly, like an at-home dishwasher, not a kitchen one, like a commercial kitchen one. That's like one of the smaller ones. And we're so there are a couple of facilities in Philadelphia and a couple of produce places in Philly, and they're actually in the Eagles practice facilities, where they do the food and stuff, and all that extra stuff is in their main kitchen in there. So that's like, if we were to take people to go see an example of it, we would take them to that facility, the NovaCare facility.
And that's in the link. Is that what you mean, like the Lincoln Field?
No, their practice. So they have it's called the NovaCare. I forget the practice facility, but it's right there where the link is. And the owner of the Eagles is very close to the owner of BioHigh-Tech. Because I don't know if you know, the owner of the Eagles is super green. He probably has the most renewable stadium in the country. Go on the side, you see all the solar panels on the side of the stadium, and he's really into it. So when he saw this digester, he had to jump on it. He has one there.
So you said that you moved to medical sales. Was that something pre-COVID, or something that you had to do just to make a living because the industry is such in bad shape?
It was at COVID. So I say it like that because my last day with the waste industry was March 13th. My first day with the medical field was March 16th, which was also the first day. So it had nothing to do with the pandemic. It was just I wasn't going to sell trash. So I just moved on. And I have a few other things working, not out of field actually, that I can't say here, but I have a couple people that moving will allow me to those things. But the pandemic put a little kibosh on that for now.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people that have their timing was terrible, like yours, and they're moving just at that time. Are you furloughed or laid off from that industry also, or were you able to work through it?
First March, April, and then the first week of May, I was full time, basically training from home.
Right.
And we're every other week furlough now, which is actually love it. Whatever. So I work a week and then I'm off a week. I work a week. If anything comes in from the sales side, anybody who's worked in sales, they know the deal. I'll still enter an email here and there on my furlough week.
Right.
Yeah, it's every other week, which isn't too bad. It's still like that.
Is it? Are you able to collect unemployment in between, or did that screw that up? Because I know a lot of people in our industry that went back and then they didn't have work, and they did have work and didn't have work. They're, it's just killing them financially.
Because they told us ahead of time it was going to be every other week. They said, you're not laid off. It is furlough. It's every other week. We were able to let the unemployment officers know, hey, this is every other week. Like, you put that in the description. And then when they called the company and they wrote us a letter, attached documents, extra documents when you file, that we could attach to that, explaining the situation with the company. And so the only problem for me in New Jersey is the company's based out of Delaware. My old company I worked for, and because it was a transition, they'd have to go back to my old company. It's based out of PA. So I'm in multiple states. My unemployment still hasn't come through, and I filed initially at the end of April.
Yeah, a lot of people are in that
it's
position.
Unbelievable. But I'm still making ends meet. Yep, I'm lucky enough to work.
Are there
at all, and I just
in your industry sales of medical equipment, or like drugs, or
It's actually textile, linen and laundry services for outpatient facilities.
Okay. So,
Yeah. So
what it was a good move. It's going to be perfect timing in the future. And I know a lot of people are right now thinking to get out of our industry, obviously, and to get into something else. So that worked out pretty good, at least the timing for you. Your wife's also in the industry. How's
absolutely.
Is she back to work?
She is. She graduated. Talking about medical or hospitality, and she was studying to be a nurse.
I know. But I was working with her as a waiter, so and a lot of nurses wait tables. Just it's easier with family life. It's easier to
Yes.
do everything. What direction is she going?
Just finished her board exam, her NCLEX for nursing yesterday. So we get the results on that tomorrow. I think she did great. Probably get a job in the nursing field within the next 2 months. But she was hired back at Hard Rock. Just waiting for the restaurant to actually open back up and open fully. They're doing like an outdoor seating thing right now on the second level or there, but Council Oak is not fully open yet.
Yeah, just outdoor dining in New Jersey, patio service. I talk often, like every time it rains, think about it. If you're if whatever industry you're in, if it rains, you lose $100. So if you're a waiter this week and it rains 6 times, you lost $600. If it rains 4 times next week and add that up.
Yep.
I looked up the COVID cases today, and I don't even know if it matters, but it's 62,000 yesterday. That's the highest it's ever been. It's the first time I believe it was over 60,000. And I mean, we were shut down for almost 4 months because of numbers like 20 and 30,000 in the country. And now we're 3 times that.
Yeah.
I don't know where the industry is. I don't know where anything, I don't have any answers.
I see those numbers, and it's a shame because it was happening to us here in the tri-state area, and now it's happening everywhere else.
Right.
But we in New Jersey and PA and New York are still like it's happening in the country, so we're still going to stay closed. And I understand that. I don't know have the answer for the 62,000 or everything, but what I think, and I'm very optimistic on as a person. I think we'll see the true cream of the crop really come to the top. We'll see these strong restaurant owners. We'll see these strong business owners that were running their business the right way. They'll come through this, and it's unfortunate for some of them, the smaller ones, or maybe they weren't running it right. They're going to close. That's just the reality we're going to live in, and it's upsetting. But there is good that can come out of it. It stinks that we're in it right now, and it's hard to see past the 5 feet in front of us. But anything that happens like this, you see something come out of it, whether it's an innovative way to give somebody an experience inside of a restaurant, or some of these legislations that were lifted, like on the boardwalk in AC, for example, there's no open container laws.
Right.
That might stay that way. I wouldn't be surprised if that stays like that forever now, which that's something for a couple of years and always got nixed on. But now it just stayed because we'll just keep it, it worked out. So I always try and look at the positive, and if you keep looking at the negative, you're gonna drive yourself crazy.
Yeah, there's just so many questions out there for everybody, and I think that between the riots, between the unemployment, between businesses closed, between politics being so divisive right now, that it just leads to I see crime rates are up all over. Yeah, everybody's frustrated. Everybody's at their wits' end. Everybody, they don't know what the answer is next month. My buddy was just texting me before we went on, and he said, he said, I just got my unemployment check. I got 2 more left. What am I going to do? And I have something on my Facebook. Some guy informs everybody of the stimulus packages coming through. So I posted it, and I said, take a look at that. And he looked at it, and, he's texting me back and forth. Like he's at his wit's end, just like me. Like, what do we do in August 1st, September 1st? And with the numbers climbing, I don't see us going back to normal soon. I don't know I don't know how we'll get back. We'll get back somehow, but I don't see normal. I don't see normal money. I don't see the normal amount of staff being needed.
I don't either.
And Atlantic City anyway, Borgata right now stayed closed. So obviously that helps everybody else out. So that there's so many people coming to the city. They only have so many restaurants or so many casinos to go to. So that helps them out. Borgata opens up next week. They can open up. They just chose not to right now. They open up. That takes some market share away. Then we get into September, which is normally our slower season from September to October with no conventions. It's a scary city.
No, yeah, it's scary. And then you know what? Everything that's happened in the past, like they were starting to come back a little bit, and just with regular recessions going on over the past 15 years, the city was going down a little bit anyway. And coming back, and I say where because I work in the area, but
yeah,
you saw the fight coming back a little bit. Especially on a local level, like Tennessee Avenue stuff starting to open up, and on New York Ave, and you had Bordier, and all these other restaurants that were outside the casino opening up, and this is great. It's not just a casino town anymore. And then this hit. So we're gonna see who can come through this, and hopefully a lot of these local places can. I think the casinos will be fine, but I do worry about the employees because they're the ones who will be affected the most. Are these employees, the servers and the bartenders, the bussers, the housekeepers, all those people in those casinos? They're going to be affected. The big guys are still going to count their money and be okay.
Yeah, I think, and as well as I do, that Atlantic City is a big union town, and it's all seniority. So if you're on the top half of seniority, you're okay. If you're on the bottom half of seniority, you have to look for another job. And there are no other jobs because every other restaurant just laid off half their crew as well, which makes it difficult.
Yep.
How do you feel about, you have two young children?
Now, I don't know.
Go ahead.
Oh, I don't know. Like, I do remember like the casinos sending out a letter back in May, like if we don't rehire you by August 1st or something, it's a permanent layoff, or it's permanent, not just furlough.
Right.
How does that work now with like some of the union stuff?
I think what they did
was
reset
August 1st or September 1st.
I think what they did was they extended that until spring. So at least until spring, I think you're not totally dismissed. If you're furloughed and you're collecting over the winter, if you're able to do something like that. By next spring, if they don't call you back, I think then that's a permanent. They can't hire anybody new until they hire, somebody on furlough back for 9 months or something like that. I think it goes to like March, like 1 year from when it started. You have young children.
Okay.
Are they school age?
Yeah. So my son was in kindergarten this past year, and my daughter's too. So she's home anyway. But my son was in the kindergarten, so he had to finish the year at home. We're his parents because he's really smart. So all the work they sent home and everything, he got.
There's a big push now, starting with the president and saying he wants everybody to go back to school. Obviously, that's a good idea. How do you feel, in about 6 weeks, sending your son back to school? Does it feel safe to do that? I know they say that children don't get COVID as easily as adults, but how does it feel as a parent?
I don't. Again, I speak for myself. Like,
sure,
we spoke about before, but I'm okay with sending my son back to school. I don't mind putting the mask on him. I was reading today, like, kind of like the steps to take with the masks. Start practicing now with your kid. Put it on for 20 minutes. Put it on for a half hour.
Yeah.
And if you read everything that was put out, the kids have to. It's suggested that they wear the masks if they're socially distanced within the classroom. So if the kid really has an issue with the mask, or has either a health problem or has anxiety, they're kids.
Yeah,
have to wear the mask in the classroom if it's socially distanced. The teacher does. So these kids won't be wearing a mask for 8 hours in the day. They'll take them off, they'll put them on, they'll have lunch. I feel bad for the teachers that are going to have to enforce some of this stuff, but I'm perfectly comfortable sending my son back to school.
Are there instructions on like if your kid has?
And I'm sure it'll be different.
What did you read any instructions like if your kids have the sniffles, if they have a cold symptoms, do they have to stay home like regular adults do from work?
We haven't got anything locally yet, but I'm sure that'll come out. And I'm gonna have to see. So we have, and if we did, I missed it. My wife read that stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm sure, again, I'm okay with that. They're going to have to adjust obviously they're going to have to adjust the standards of how often you can miss school, and it's usually like 8 days or 9 days or whatever. They're going to have to adjust that, but it's got to be so fluid. I want my son back. He needs that experience. He needs to be with other kids. He's smart and we can teach him a lot. But I think it's more about being around the other kids that he can learn, just being around other people. And he's really good with that. So, and again, I'm going to vote than the next person. That's just me.
No, I think so too. My girls are grown, so I see this on TV, but I don't have the personal experience. Would I be nervous? Would I not be nervous? And yeah, that social, just being around other kids, learning how to communicate with other people, and social, being a social little person, definitely helps them.
Right.
More than looking at a computer screen with mom for 2 hours a day. And so I can imagine that parents are excited to get them back. I just don't know that side because my girls are all grown.
Yeah. No, and I get it. And like, we're lucky we only have one in school.
Right.
If I had two in school, that'd be different too. If we had to teach two kids at the same time, at the same time I was working from home, even though I was working home. Working.
You're cutting out a little bit on me, but
wife was in nursing.
You're cutting out on me a little bit, like the internet or something. So, there you are. You're back. I wonder. I look at things every day from our perspective here in New Jersey. I look at it from our industry. You're very familiar with, like you said, the bartending and the waiters all over the city. How long does it take, in your opinion? Because that's, nobody talks to us. I see it on the news every day. They talk about our industry, but nobody actually talks to us. So I just talk to us and I say, hey, when are we back? When are we back to somewhat normal? 400 covers inside a dining room on a Saturday night. How long do we get to go back to somewhat normal? I think it's going to take 18 months. I think it's going to take even longer than a year. I would be optimistic after a vaccine. If there was a vaccine that actually worked, because it seems like everything's scientific right now. There's too much doubt. So even like Dr. Fauci, which I don't know, he's worked through a lot of presidents, and was like the most trusted man in the country. And I don't know him. I never heard of him before up until 3 months ago. But if he says something scientific, I would imagine that's probably true. I don't know that, but that's the way I lean. Hey, Sarah, how are you? You watch the news every morning, and they only report on COVID and racism. Yep. No reports on Hong Kong being taken over by China or Iran or Syria or joining forces. It's true. It's true that, what's up, Gar? I'm by myself right now. I was talking to Adam Collin, and I think there was a problem with the internet connection. So I'll just go. I'll just talk for a little bit and we'll see how it works. But that's right, Sarah, because, and obviously, I mean, COVID is what's on everybody's mind when you wake up in the morning, especially in our industry or an industry that's been demolished like ours. You're waking up thinking about unemployment. You're waking up thinking about COVID. If you look at one set of news stations, you see that everything is fine. We're going to live with this. We're going to get through it. It's not that serious of an issue. And then you look at another news station and it is devastating. Nobody's paying attention to it. They bring scientists out and say this is the most dangerous thing around. And it leads us to think, what is the truth? Is the truth, is it dangerous? Is it going to leave a scar on my lungs if I get sick? And then, down the road, it's going to implement problems on me. I don't know if that's true. And also, I don't know that it's true if it's not that big a deal. I was just talking to Adam about, hey, Adam, we were just talking about sending your kids back to school. I don't have children that are in school, but Adam does. So that's why I was talking to him about how, and I don't know if you guys have kids out there, but what's that feel like to put your kid on the bus? Everybody's got sniffly noses. When my girls were young and they were going to school, the only way I would keep them home, I say, you got to have a fever or you got to throw up. If you're not throwing up and you don't have a fever, you got to go to school. So I don't know if kids, if you're a teacher and you have 20 kids and 12 of them have runny noses, I think, I don't know. There's a lot of teachers that are waiters. So I'd be interested to hear that. I don't know if you'd be nervous about that or, I don't know that if you just go through it like it's the flu, everybody gets the flu. I hear that being said a lot. I hear a lot of things being said about masks, wear them, don't wear them. It seems to me, at least for my interest, that you're just announced yesterday that we are starting online school. Wow. And you're in Arizona, I believe, Sarah. And I think you posted something on your Facebook saying that, I forget what it's called, but the hospitals and the nurses in Arizona, it's called like triage. And basically what it means is if you go to the emergency room or you get checked into the hospital, you are prioritized based on how you can recover. So if your chances aren't good now and they can't spend a lot of time on you, then what they do is they just make you comfortable. They don't actually treat you. I think I shared it to my Facebooks. Critical care, right? So basically what you're doing is you're bringing people in and you're saying online school. I see, Adam. I just can't bring you in. I see on the bottom of my screen. I don't know why I can't bring you in. Now you're out. Yeah, critical care, right, Sarah? So, and I'm kind of healthy, but I don't know how I'll react to this. A colleague of mine that is in Florida, much younger than me, big dude, strong kid, got sick and is in terrible, terrible pain with all this. And, and some people, they just lose their sense of smell. They lose their sense of taste. And it's really not that big a deal. So I don't know how I would do it. But then I worry about people that are close to me. And, parents, obviously. I haven't been in my parents' house since February, I think. So my two questions when I wake up, well, I have three questions. How am I going to pay my bills? When am I going to get back to waiting tables? And when can I go visit my parents personally inside, sit down, have a cup of coffee, eat dinner? When can we do that? We met once outside at my sister's backyard and everybody stayed far apart. And that was about maybe 2 months ago. So, hey, Jeremy, what's up? Yeah, it is interesting. When I talk to Josh, Josh comes on with me every Wednesday. He's interesting because he layers things and sees the future. And he always says, when people start dying in line to get to the hospital and people are getting evicted and which creates crime. So everything is a trickle down, right? You can't pay your bills. Somebody in your house is sick. You're frustrated. your anger level is extremely high, that's when crime starts. And Josh always, Josh says it much better than me. And he says, and that's when it starts. That's when it gets personal. When 2 or 3 or 4 people in your family get sick, and then you say, holy shit, this thing is real. This thing isn't just, I lost my sense of smell for a month. This thing is real. I haven't been like that. I really, other than just hearsay, nobody in my, we are exposed by my niece. My oldest daughter has a headache, sore throat, and dizzy. So now right away, I've heard a lot about, just on the news, Sarah, and from you, that Arizona is hours to get tested. And I hear this on the news a lot. A couple buddies of mine have been tested, and they say it takes like 4 or 5 days to get the results back, but the tests were just going to CVS, and it really wasn't waiting that long. But in Arizona, I've seen that it's, 5 hours in line, 107 degrees outside, and you're sitting in your car. What's up, Adam? Can you hear me now? I can see it's just blank. I don't know if you're using a laptop. You can use a phone too. A lot of people just dial in with their phone, and they'll sit on their front porch, or they'll sit in their backyard or something like that. Doctor said we should watch her. They are short on tests, 8 to 10 days for results. And, we were told a month ago that if you need a test, you can get them. And they were putting up mobile sites, and that kind of gave people some comfort that, if you had the sniffles, if you weren't feeling well, if you did have a fever, then you could go out and get tested right away. If we're going back to work and you're sent home, and if you're a waiter, you work no matter what, right? Like there's no, you can be throwing up and have a fever, and the boss will be like, hey, give me a couple hours, and you'll end up staying there till 4 a.m., right? So if you're back at work and then you have to go home to get tested before they allow you back in, and it takes 8 to 10 days, that's just 8 to 10 days to find out if you're positive or negative. They might want to quarantine you after that or before that. It's all connected, and it seems like it's all connected. Anarchy will ensue. Yeah, Tara, what's going on? That's what me and Josh were talking about yesterday. And we passed a phase of that first progression. Well, people are angry, and people are fed up. And one thing, and I have somebody coming on tomorrow that's a manager, and I'm going to talk about leadership with him, because I think that I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat, leadership has definitely failed. I was talking to a buddy yesterday, and I said, I don't care who's in office. They're going to get voted out, because it doesn't seem like anybody is doing a good job as a total. Everybody's out of work, and you can collect unemployment. You know how many people were left out of that unemployment, not getting paid for 14 weeks? How do you just, have dignity and not beg and borrow off people, and just wake up in the morning and go grocery shopping and come home? I mean, I'm not living a lifestyle right now. What I'm doing is, I got meatloaf in the oven right now. I'm going to freeze it. We're going to eat it this week. And I got some chicken in the freezer, and, living very simple, right? So if you can live very simple, you can still keep your dignity. You can still tell people that you're a waiter. It's a tough time. But if you're not getting paid, if you can't call the unemployment office and they say, we know, and say, well, I don't know, can we set something up at home with people? Can there be an online service? Are people able to work at home from unemployment? Is there somebody we can call every day, and then they can relay the message, and at least maybe next week I can get paid? Because I did it with my daughter. She went back to work, and then she got furloughed again. She went back to work like 2 weeks, then got furloughed again. We haven't been able to claim, and she hasn't been paid in the last, I think, 9 weeks. Well, I mean, now put that on top of, when am I going to get my job back, and how am I going to stay healthy? And then for restaurant people, I hear these stories all over saying people are coming in and they're saying, I don't have to wear a mask. I don't feel like I have to go through my medical issues right now for you, but I'm exempt from wearing masks. They sit down at the tables. They're supposed to wear masks throughout the entire meal, but they have not. It seems like they come in, they sit down, they take their masks off, they walk to the bathroom, they take their masks off, and it's a fight. if you're in the industry, we don't really fight with anybody, right? Like, hey, people get out of hand. You tell the manager you do something. So what do you do now? You feel uncomfortable. You're trying to get a tip. You want to be safe. From what I understand about masks, and obviously there's a lot of debate. Some people believe in them, some people don't. But if I have a mask on, I'm protecting you better than I don't have a mask on. Let me say that. I don't know if it's 100% or what. It would be equated to if I sneeze into my arm, and then you don't get the germs. So if I have a mask on and sneeze, you don't get the germs either. So it's better. Is it the best? Is it 100%? I don't think so. I don't think anybody agrees that it's 100%. But it. How about now, Adam?
Yeah, I think good. Sorry about that.
Good. That's okay. Hey, this is casual, and you know, when I started this, I held off for like a month. I had this idea for a while and was talking to people, and I just thought to myself, I don't want to do this because it's just too uncomfortable for me. And I didn't think anybody would listen. As we started to do it, some people comment in, and people have similar experience. So I'm really enjoying it. So if nobody watches, nobody watches. If people watch, people watch. I really I like it either way, you know. But I was now your wife and you, obviously being in the medical field, you're talking to people a little more. And Sarah, Sarah, she also often calls in from Arizona, which hospitals are filled, and they're on something called critical care.
Okay.
So my question is always this, and I asked Kobe Fire yesterday, and he said he's not smart enough. I'm definitely not smart enough either. But is it all real? Is it dangerous? And how do you feel about that just personally? Because, it was dangerous in March, and there were so many less cases.
Mm-hmm.
And now there are so many more cases, but we're going to go back to work somehow. We're going to send kids back to school. We're going to start sports somehow. Do we just live with it and move forward?
I think, and again, I'm not a doctor. Again, I'm certainly not smart enough to answer the question maybe the right way. But I think back in March, we didn't have as much information as we have now.
True.
So I think a part of the danger back in March is the unknown. We didn't know. We didn't know if you were asymptomatic. Could you spread it? Who does it really affect? What are the long-term effects of it? Now we know it doesn't really affect younger people. It doesn't affect kids. It doesn't affect people that are in relatively good shape. And even older adults that are above 65, they can get through it as well, as long as they don't have some sort of underlying conditions. Now, people over the age of 65, a lot of them do have the underlying conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the numbers started coming out, you saw that a lot of it was within these assisted living facilities with these long-term care, and it just spread like wildfire in those in those places, and those people couldn't survive. They were there because they had conditions not due to COVID, that were existing before. So I think with more information as we get it, a little of the danger goes away because the unknown is now becoming known. It's still scary because it spreads so quickly. But as far as like maybe the symptoms and who can it affect, I think that's why we can start talking about opening sports and opening up schools and saying, because they might get sick, or a kid might get sick, or but 99.7% chance they're going to come through it. If you did anything in life and said it's going to be a 99.7% chance it's going to work out, you would do it. I'm guessing. It's still scary, but every month we get more information. I mean, think about it in the grand scheme of things. We started getting information on this, real information, in March.
Mm-hmm.
It's July. It seems like a long time, but it's not even half a year. It's affecting us a lot. It's affecting us personally and economically. It's affected some people because they have lost somebody to it, and but it's not really a long time. Look at all the information we already received. Usually, information like this takes years to do research on. It takes years to get a vaccine. It takes years to get a treatment, and we're trying to complete this in 4 months. Yeah, it's amazing the amount of information we have now, and it's going to be amazing moving forward, I believe, and that's why we can start doing things to try and get back to normal. And as far as getting back to complete normal, it won't be until we have a vaccine. or actual treatment that works just like if you have a headache, you take an aspirin, something like that.
Right. You get a flu, you get an infection, you have a fever. We can deal with that. If you
Right.
have COVID, you can deal with COVID as well. Maybe a week home from work or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one thing, I mean, we're so divided, but one thing that I've noticed a lot is that when anybody does suffer, when anybody does die, and maybe it's just, sticking up for ourselves, but we always ask the question, or people are always asking the question, well, were they a smoker? Oh, well, they drank too much. Oh, well, they were obese. Oh, well, it's their fault. And it's almost like, hey, this is who we are. Whatever.
Yep.
We're a bunch of misfits, and everybody's different shapes and sizes. And, I had asthma as a kid, and somebody else has type 1 diabetes. It's not their fault, but I feel sometimes that people are saying like, well, it's their fault. They had diabetes. Well, we still have to look at, it's not Darwin's theory, the strongest survive, right?
Right.
And I feel that a lot of people, young and strong kind of feel like that. And I get it. When you're young and strong, you feel invincible. But I think that, one of the things I said when you were off air for a second is I said, 3 things are on my mind. How do I pay my bills? When do I get back to waiting tables? When
Yep.
can I visit my parents?
Yep.
And freely. So, I don't know. Those are the things that are on my mind. What do you think about masks? I said that I guess masks, if you're wearing one, that's going to protect me more so than if you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've come up with. I don't know anything more than that.
I think masks kind of work like clothes, I guess. If we look at it just another accessory, like if you're walking outside and you're sweating and you have a shirt on and you push up against somebody, the sweats might get on them.
Yeah.
But it's going to be on you. If you push up on somebody, they have a shirt on, you have a shirt on, the sweat's not going to really get to them. I mean, the mask thing, I think it's for some people, it's a bigger issue than the mask. It's about all the other stuff with it and the freedoms that we're losing because of it. As far as a mask in a vacuum by itself, I don't think it's a big deal. I think if you wear them and if everybody wore them, it's not the end of the world. I understand the other side of it where people are freaking out about everything being shut down, the government telling us what we can and can't do, and they're just throwing the mask in there with it. But wear the mask. I went out to so when the first week when outdoor dining, I took my wife to Doc's in AC because it was her birthday. So we sat outside, we wore the mask, and that was fine. We just went to, because she, just took her NCLEX, and we went to Oyster Creek.
Okay.
And I think I said it on one of your shows the other day. I said, hey, if I was at a restaurant, I'd mandate when somebody's at your table, the guests have to wear a mask. When they're not at your table, take the mask off. That's fine. That's what we did. Nobody else was doing it, but I wanted to see how it worked. And I told my wife, I was like, I'm going to be on with Mike Fagan on Thursday. So she's like, oh, let's test it out then. Let's see how it worked. Let's see if it's difficult. And it wasn't. I mean, so we walked in with our mask. We sat down. We actually kept the mask on until we took our order. When the drinks came, we kept the mask on until the drinks came. Mm-hmm. We took our mask off, and then anytime the server, but we put our whole order in. So the server only had to come back to check on us while we were eating or to drop off food. So we had our masks right in our pocket, ready to go.
Yeah.
When the server came back, we just put it over our face, and she said,
yeah.
She asked if we need anything else, and we put it back. It wasn't a hindrance. It didn't change my experience of Oyster Creek, and I've been there before. Now I've been there after this, and it felt, nothing was crazy about it.
Hey, Richie, how are you? I work at Ocean Casino, and I've done most of my career in Atlantic City in either gourmet Italian rooms and steakhouses. But I've worked breakfast, lunch, and dinner, banquets, bartend, butler for a long time. And do you know Richie?
Do I know Richie?
Yeah.
Carlin. I don't think so.
Thanks for asking, Rich. Where do you work? What city are you from, Richie? Yeah, I wonder. I just think that the market for dining out, if this is really enforced, and I get it. Like every time somebody comes over, you gotta go like this and go like this, and now you have 2 glasses of wine or a couple of drinks, and now everything's loosened up. So, But if that's the way I can get back to work, I want everybody to do it. I'm not
Right.
saying it's the right thing in a wrong way, but if the governor says if everybody wears masks, I can go back to work.
Right.
Everybody's got to put a mask on for me to go back to work.
Correct.
You know?
And that's how I feel especially again, for the bartenders and servers. If that's what needs to get done, help these people out, whether you like it or not, help them out. Cause they're the ones, they're the ones that really need it. Like I said, a lot of these bigger business owners or these casinos will be fine, but it's the smaller guys. And even the smaller restaurants, they need, Mike, like, the restaurants run on such a small profit margin to begin with. And if you
Right.
can be running a restaurant great and you're still on a small profit margin, like there's no way a restaurant's making money this year. No matter, it's a loss. Now it's just a matter of how much you can lose.
Hey, Baroni, how are you, brother? Good to hear from you. You got a 9-ball there. I'm a big pool player. Do you play pool? Richie works at Fleming's. I've heard of it. Haven't been there.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Sounds like a great place. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Sarah's from Arizona. I can count the number of times I brought hot water and lemon to a sick guest. Yeah, you're right, Sarah, right? How many times I'm not feeling that well?
Mhm.
It's a red flag now. I don't know. If it's not mandated, I don't think we'll follow rules like temperatures at a restaurant door. It would have to be by law, right? Because if you are a restaurant owner, you want the least inconvenience to your customers, obviously, as you can. Evesham. Thank you, Rich. From Marlton,
Okay.
Evesham.
All right.
What's up, Josh? Now they're saying the virus can survive in the air for hours, meaning if you're only using the mask when people are in the vicinity, it's not useful. Yeah, I mean, me and Josh will talk for an hour before we go on, then we'll talk for an hour on air, then we'll talk an hour. We could talk forever. But my point about the mask is if they wear it and they can open up our restaurants, then that's good enough for me. Then we can talk about it, because I don't know anything about, it can, there's always going to be an argument that it does work, that it doesn't work, that it's not efficient. If you have to wear gloves, if you have to do something, and then we can work around it. First get back to work.
Yeah. Let's get these people back. And no matter how it is, let's get them back to work.
Yeah, and I think I don't think a couple states have reversed. I don't think Trump can ever reverse. It would just make him look like he made a mistake. Mm-hmm. And understandably, if he reverses, it's going to make him look bad. There's an election in 4 months, so he can't. He's got to stay strong. I understand why at least he's doing it.
Right.
He always say,
he has his base.
Pardon me?
He has his base that he has to, adhere to, right? Especially in an election year.
If he came out today and he said, listen, we're going to shut down the whole country for 2 weeks and everybody's got to wear a mask, I think there would be too much sharp criticism on him, even if that's the right thing. I don't know if it's the right thing, but so I understand that that's the way it's going. I've just always been disappointed that this whole time, Arizona, New Jersey, California, Florida, I think we all should have done things together at the same time.
Yep.
I think it would have helped. Obviously, it has helped in other countries.
I think when it comes to like doing things at the same time, I think it was trending towards that way, but there was a lot of pushback on that because that would have to be done on the federal level, and then why have governors? You know what I mean? So I think there was a lot of pushback on a national, federal. Let's do this federally, and especially the opposite side of what the federal government is now. Push back against it. So no, we're going to do, and which I understand because Missouri is different than New Jersey. That's why there are 50 governors. It's all different. So
I never realized I'm getting an education really on how government works, because really, I mean, we're small people. We vote, and then we're either happy or sad. But I never realized that it goes, how much control the states have, and then the mayors have, and then the president, and how it all works together, but it all works independently as well. So your kids will be learning about this when they're in high school, and it's very educational. Let's just wear the masks and see if it works.
Yeah.
If it works well, that's what I say. If that gets me back to work and I'm working with a mask for the next 6 months, okay, then I can live with it. And, I hope everybody else can, so I can get back to work. I'm not even talking about, does it protect me health-wise? Because if you don't believe that, you don't believe that. But if it's mandated to wear a mask, then wear the mask. And I see a lot of Not really. He did play many years ago. You good? Went to work.
Pool. I think
Harris.
you asked about Pool before.
Yeah. Well, I long story, but about 12 years ago, I quit Atlantic City, moved back to Pennsylvania, my hometown, and I opened up a pool hall. And I was playing. It was always like a hobby, but I was playing 8-10 hours a day with everybody, and I got super good. However, I think the last time I played was 3 years ago. But if anybody plays and we want to go out and play, I don't even know if pool halls are open. But if you want to go out and play, I'll play. I know all the games. I know how to play.
I'm sure someone has a pool table somewhere you could probably come and play at.
Yeah, Josh has a pool table, but he's in Georgia.
He's in Georgia, right?
Yeah.
But to get back to what you were saying about
the masks and
the mask, well, then like learning, like I've learned so much of how politics works, just like you, on a local level. I think this, and we were talking about it earlier, the silver linings of like good things to come. I think this is actually it's going to open up a lot of eyes to local government and people going out and voting on a local level. Because I know I would vote in the governor's race, I would vote in the presidential, and maybe some Congress. But like as far as a local one and like my town and my city, or my mayor, not that I didn't, I didn't follow it as closely as I would on a bigger election. But I think this is going to open eyes to like, wow, like these local governments actually have a lot of power for me personally. And that's why you vote anyway. You vote for you. You vote for what you think is right.
You vote for your own self-interest.
Right. So I think it's a good thing. Like I said, I try and look at the positive. I think it's a positive thing that's going to come out of this. It really is.
I wonder, sometimes I say, what is the positive? My positive is I really enjoy talking to people that I wouldn't have doing Waiter Nation differently like this. And every Sunday I get on a Zoom meeting and talk with my entire family. And I have brothers and sisters across the country. And we don't really talk like most people. Right. Once I've seen my brother more in the last 2 months than in, at least FaceTime than I have in, 5 years or 10 years. Right. So that's a positive if there's any positive. Hey, Sandy, how are you?
Oh, hey, Sandy, how are you? Look at that.
Sandy, I think Ruth Chris is open doing outside, or at least they have been in Atlantic City. I know they did. I don't know if they stopped it. I also saw Morton's in Atlantic City, and God bless them. They're trying, and they are like out on the sidewalk, and I hope they're doing good. It seems so strange. Maybe it's not. It just seems so strange to see all this. I was asking Chris Crean last week. He came on, and we were just asking about different things. He said, we're not trying to make money. We're just trying to lose as less as possible, which is like trying not to make money, not even break even. It was just like, we hope we don't lose. We can lose 7% and still stay afloat, right. Where, as a restaurant manager, you'd be fired in a week if you got bad numbers. It's just the game. Yes, we are. It's been busy. That's awesome. You're busy at Ruth Chris outside. Well, you're in a good area right in the middle of the city there. So I think a lot of people driving by can see you. I wondered if a steakhouse, where most of my experience is, being out in the hot, if people are going to order a big porterhouse, a big bottle of red wine and mashed potatoes, or if you're going to get like a petite filet and steak fries. You're going to eat. It's nice, but you're not going to get that like drink red wine in 85-degree weather.
No, it's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. But I mean, I think people want to get back to normal, though. I mean, if they ate a porterhouse in July last year, they want to eat a porterhouse this year. I think they just want to get away from it all, even for an hour or an hour and a half.
Yeah,
they'll sweat through it.
Yeah, you remember. Ronnie, you remember Chiro and Luigi? They're all my good friends and all guys that taught me early on in my career. Did you work with me at Harrah's in the Italian room, or were you working somewhere else? I forgot what we were talking about when I started talking to him. What were
steakhouses, eating a porterhouse.
Steakhouses outside. I know a lot of. Yeah, well, my point, what I was going to get to is that right now you can serve anybody anywhere. If you can get out of the house and go have a glass of wine and anything to eat, you're going to be happy with it.
Yep.
Are we going to stay busy going into our season is right now. So the business we see, we're right in the middle of our season in Atlantic City. But like Josh in Georgia, his season starts about like October.
Okay.
He doesn't make any money. Just like Florida, they don't make good money in the summer months. It's too hot. But I wonder, after people are allowed to get out, and they're allowed to get out for a couple months, if then they had their fill, the numbers go up, they get scared, and then our restaurants still, like, we might be open with masks and people just aren't going to do it. I've said it before. Maybe you go to the local place, like maybe you go to Doc's, or if you're from around here, maybe you go to the local restaurants. Did you feel safe where you might be a regular? But I don't know if you go to a casino, or I don't know if you go to New York City, Times Square, or I don't know if you do all that.
Right. No, and I agree.
Albedo Perez, come on, man. This is my boy, my back waiter, my partner for years. What's up, my brother? Nice to hear from you.
Was he hiding? He's hiding from you?
He worked, I don't know. He's incognito with the.
Yeah, right.
He's got some. I don't know. He's incognito. But good man. I'm glad to hear from you, Albedo. Good to hear from you. But that's what and it just all goes back to restaurants. I hear, and I don't know if it's true or not, but that the extra $600 a week, and some people are saying, like, well, no, that's more than what they were making. I often say it's not more than what I was making. And in July, July steakhouse, I'm making double if I'm working than on unemployment. And
you might make that on night.
Right?
Yeah,
But obviously, some people, like maybe a hostess that's making minimum wage, is going to make more money with this. And I say, God bless her. Maybe she can buy a car, or a better car, or he. I shouldn't say she, but it's not that big a deal. But to take that back now, you closed our restaurants. You closed the industry. I'm not allowed to go back to work. And now to say, well, go get a job. Josh was saying, like, go get a job at like a store, go be a manager. You did good. You pivoted. It's tough for me. I'm like an old dog. I will have to if I have to, but this is what I've worked on for so long. So
yeah, I think the go get a job thing. I mean, it's tough for where, like, especially in the hospitality industry, where like you do this job because you're either in school and there's another job, or it's something like you've done it your whole life. That's what you know. And it's a great way to make a living. It really is. And it's hard. I mean, the good thing about the hospitality industry is you do hit so many facets of life, and you can transition to a lot of different job types because of what you deal with on a day-to-day basis. But when somebody looks at your resume, and you were just in the hospitality industry, they're not going to, maybe because of this they'll say, let me give this guy or let me give this woman a shot. But I know in the past, like, I had to have other things on my resume to do things, unless it was like in sales, which I'm at now, because they're so close together. But it's going to be difficult for some people that can't get back in hospitality to find something else. Well,
normally how it works in Atlantic City, 9 casinos or something is big. But if I needed a job, and I worked at Revel, the whole casino closed, and I was able to get a job within 2 weeks because you call people and you have a reputation. But now, no matter who I called, they would say, yeah, well, I have 10 guys back. I have 20 full crew. I got to bring those 10 guys back also before I can hire anybody else. So there's no opportunity, and the business isn't there. And if we stay with, limited capacity at 25, 30, 50%, then that's how that goes too.
Yeah. And, we might not, I don't know what the answer is there. I mean, it's just, and it's not like anything else is going to be opening up. There's not new places opening right now. Like, oh, okay, well, there's a new bar opening. I'll go there for the time being.
Man, God bless them with they're like that. I talked to a lady named Monica yesterday from California, and she's a restaurant owner, small place, not big fancy, but she's worrying about herself, and then she's worrying about her staff. And being a manager, when you're a manager or GM, you got to worry about 60 people and yourself at the same time, right?
Yep, absolutely. And sometimes you have to put those, you put those 60 people before you. Yeah. Maybe you put yourself in a little hot water to protect or help out a staff member. I mean, because they're humans, they're people. You have a job to do, but you work with people. I saw you when you worked with me. I always say you worked with me. You never worked for me. I always do that.
Way to put it as a manager, I listen careful when managers often will say, like, that guy worked for me or with me. Yeah, it's a big Big difference. I can tell you this. My first day when I went to work for Adam, he left me with, in my opinion, maybe the top 3 waiters in the city. And he said, just follow him around. This is a funny story because you guys got me good. And that waiter handed me the swipe card to the computer. And he goes, listen, I got to go talk to a guy. I'm going to come back. And I worked like basically by myself for 3 or 4 hours getting crushed. Then that guy, he likes to stay anonymous, so I'm not going to mention his name. He that's his personality. Then he comes back and he goes, hey, everything was good. And I was like, oh my God, dude, you know? And then you walked up to me at the end of the shift and I go, Dave, I think you're good tomorrow. You'll be on your own. Don't worry about it. And then you took off. And I thought, these guys, they got me good.
Yeah. Well, I knew who you were. You know, I heard the story. So I was like, that's
great. Just you throw them in, you make it work. Yeah, that's my memory. You two guys on a Saturday and Sunday.
That's funny.
About 2 years ago or a year ago, something like that.
Well, we're all thrown to the wolves over there when we first opened.
That's the business. I told Josh yesterday, can you imagine if another industry totally went out, like an IT worker or an engineer system, and it just didn't have their industry at all? Where would they go? They'd come and work for us, right? They'd apply to a manager. And I said, and we'd eat them up because that's what we do. We don't have a lot of patience for people that aren't good. If you come in, we don't have a lot of patience for that. And you can normally tell like within a half hour on the floor if somebody's going to make it or not, you know?
Yep.
And if they're not, and I said, Josh, that's us going to other professions. Hey, what'd you do before? You know, and you're like, I was a waiter, you know, and they're like,
you two alive.
You know, we're survivors, that's for sure. And we adapt well. We adapt well in, we can communicate. We adapt well in anything. And we're survivors. So hopefully I have some confidence. What else, man? How's the house? You bought a house not too long ago, right?
Yeah, I'm in it about a year and a half out in Epseekin, right near the police station over there. So
I love that neighborhood.
Nice. Yeah, it's great.
Friends, I go over there. I love it.
Yeah, I just had people over here for 4th of July weekend. A lot of my friends. It was actually the first time they were here, and they loved it. And you know, we have a nice yard and everything. You know, I'm enjoying it. You know, I'm glad we're here, and you know, I'm glad we did it a year and a half ago and not trying to get a house now. I know a few people trying to get a house now, and it's awful.
Yeah, a bunch of my real estate buddies who you know, waiters in real estate, and they say that if you're on unemployment, they won't sign a loan for you. You have to be back at work. It's not a big deal, but once they go back to work, they can do it. But a lot of those deals that are pending. Darren says lots of leaves. Was Darren over the house?
Oh, lots of leaves. No, Darren lives up the street from me though. So
does he? Okay.
he warned me. He goes, just get ready for your leaves. I'm like, what are you talking about? In the first fall I was here, you know, me and Darren were in the chat together. I was like, this is ridiculous. And then it's because it's been warm this past year. I have more leaves. I'm looking at the trees and I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh crap, this is gonna be such a crappy fall. I'm gonna be raking leaves for 4 straight months. I'm gonna have to quit my job and just rake leaves forever.
You're on Amazon looking for leaf blowers and stuff all around.
Leaf blowers don't even do it justice. You can't. The leaf blowers don't even help with these leaves. It's the worst. Darren will tell you, it's the worst.
Yeah, I had a house over by the hospital for a long time. Same kind of thing.
Yeah, but no.
Well, good. You know, we talk a lot about things to get us down. I also every day whenever I talk to somebody, I do feel better, and then over the weekend when I don't, then I get nervous with the news and everything.
Yeah.
I've watched everything on Netflix. You got anything for me?
Netflix. It's Netflix. You go to Netflix and everything's depressing on Netflix now, you know.
I think it's very geared towards like young, like you know, 15 to 25-year-olds, you right. know, stuff like that. And I think I've watched everything. Somebody will be like, Darren lives for the league.
It's Nate. Nate's another buddy of ours.
Great. What's up, Nate?
That's funny.
Hey, leaves is good, man. If you got the house and you got the leaves and you got the family.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
I wish you a lot of luck. We had some issues with the internet.
Yeah.
Oh, good, man. We had a good talk.
It was good. It was good.
Figured out, and we talked it through. I wish you luck. I hope I see you in person around Galloway or Epseekin one of these days. Tell your wife and Mike Boris and the whole family, because I know them all. I've worked with everybody over some way or another. Tell everybody I said hi and wish them the best, man.
I will. Thanks for having me on. It was great. It was a great time, except for the few minutes I wasn't here, but everything else was great.
Josh, Bosch. I love Bosch, but I've seen all 5 seasons. I might have to go back and see the first one. That's on Prime.
Okay.
I love it. But anyway, and Alberto Perez, I'm going to look you up and I'm going to give you a phone call when we're done. All right, buddy? Haven't seen you in a long time. Adam, be well. Thank you so much.
You too. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody, for commenting in. Tomorrow, I have our buddy, Matt Kinkellen.
Oh, Matt Kinkellen is a good guy. I like Matt.
Good friend of yours. I think. Watch Secondhand Lions last night with the kids. Good movie. Okay. I will.
Lions.
I'll tell you about it tomorrow, Sarah. Good day, everybody. Thanks, Adam. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Michael.
All right, bye.